It's curious that what we come to admire in a sonnet fills us with cowardice in life. I wrote that last week and didn't know how to continue it. It is as if the words scoured in my head one after the other, but the sonnet continues like a song, like a rhyme, like a verse. Between a routine, an alarm clock, and a quick glance at our phones, we constantly connect and disconnect, immersing ourselves in edited, excluded, reused, and sometimes forgotten rhetoric. Imaginative stories to reach the small screen, videos, reactions, and also just small stories that take us from one place to another without ultimately leading to a deeper topic. Each mural invites us to consume short form content more quickly. Laughter, tears, art, music, critiques, opinions, tutorials, and other content intertwined, as if a sonnet was never designed to last. This leads us, little by little, to lose our capacity of retention and attention, as if the new time were doomed to move faster and the old to live and endure beyond our expectations. Now it lives in a network, a symphony that never ends, traits that connect invisibly in an interaction that unfolds in milliseconds, perhaps more, perhaps less. But was our brain designed to read this fleeting passage of time, its move, and its endlessness? A glance at TikTok is enough to know everything or nothing in an hour. That network expands more instead of contracting, forcing us in a way to keep up with it without even considering the repercussions this would have on an organism that was made to move so fast, without pause, without hurry. I once read between dances, memes, edits, quotes, fashion, aspirational content, even invitations to join an online cult. They can appear at the same door at the house of a potential hoarder. There is nowhere to go, but the boxes keep arriving at the door. Towers of products, articles, podcasts, photographs, and more. Everything is scattered around the house. You can't walk without tripping over something. You bend down, look at it, and when someone knocks on the door, you realize that 2 hours of your life have gone by. When you receive the new package at the door, you realize that you don't know what time, and that time can no longer be reversed. But at least you have a new teapot in your hands and another one coming, about to arrive, that you just bought during your 2 hours that you were online just right now. It will be alright again next Friday night though. Your approach to the bathroom. It's already past your brushing time. But What if maybe you shouldn't continue brushing your teeth with fluoride? Among the 50 content videos, perhaps number 23, short content format, do talk about how it could cause cancer before you're 45. Yes, fluoride. Maybe it's time to rethink, don't you think? But hey, maybe in the next 2 hours of thoroughly distracting myself, maybe I can find a cure for fluoride for you. The dear substitute. Or maybe that video that tells it was never actually bad in the right amounts. What do we know? Content upon content, idea upon idea, ideal upon ideal. But where is our story? Our sonnet. I once told a friend if they made a movie about every person on this earth, most wouldn't watch it. Ordinary lives, predictable habits, little interaction with things that will be seen as extraordinary. That's how our lives are, or at least most of the ones around us. We don't even know if the planet will survive this then, but it is important that the teapot arrives next week. Let's say now that the war will end less than 10 years with a cataclysm in Egypt, but that is according to one of the conspiracy theories you saw somewhere in video number 45 of the 50. You saw. To close with a flourish, I think the algorithm likes to end catastrophically. Our genetics are being affected. Many experts will say, and research after research is talking a little more about it. Content creators tell you one thing, but when you swipe, you find an ad for a 60% off sale on selected shoes. Who would have thought? Maybe you should watch more content so you will get more ads and possibly more deals. I think that's how it works. Some harder, one said. But going back a bit, the next generation may be born with a higher probability of developing attention deficit. But at the same time, you only live once, don't you think? That's what a hoarder once said too. For some reason, we have heard all those phrases more than once, haven't you? Could this be what demonstrates our cognitive evolution or a lack of it? I don't know. Maybe we can even develop a trophy in future legacies and genes. But isn't that advancement of communicative feedback part of evolution itself? What if our brain has been affected by something that comes from natural technological and social development? Or maybe this isn't natural. I open debate. And why I left this door opened, Instagram and YouTube windows are also left open. Because otherwise, who else is going to catch up on what's happened? If it were a natural advancement, shouldn't society have popularized virtual libraries as a new trend or something similar? However, it seems we will leave that for another day. Bef- Perhaps before that cataclysm. It's important to trend what one celebrity said about another, or perhaps the launch of a new product, which isn't going to help much in our lives. But hey, hopefully it is a new tea set. since we have to find a new one for the teapot that's coming next week, don't you think? Also, the other day I was reading the newspaper, and in pages 9 to 12, they were talking about how important mental health is nowadays. But like, and people cannot sustain entire systems around a mental health clinic because either A, they don't have enough personnel, or B, they don't have enough meds in order to sustain the new patient's treatments. Alongside that, we have the diverse of the people that aren't going to acquire or just add towards those things that are affecting them in a psychological aspect. So it's a constant fight between what we watch. It's a constant fight between how our brains are getting damaged and the current problems that we actually have, but we don't add our STEM in order to solve that. It's some kind of bizarre triangle I'm doing right now. Let's not think about a triangle at all. Just that the hoarder is feeling bad somehow about something happening in their life. And then instead of just going to therapy, seeking for professional help, it's going to acquire more teapots and more boxes are going to keep coming at the door. But then we feel good with a bit of dopamine in our heads. When we all of a sudden we didn't realize we spent another 2 hours on TikTok or Instagram Reels. It made us feel good, entertained, worried, scandalous, or just nothing at the same time. We didn't learn much, but we find out about three new offers and two more conspiracy theories, right? Also, there was like a good man, I have to admit. So distractions that we think that are putting batteries on our heart and brain, but batteries aren't doing nothing, just staying there while the womb is getting infected. And that newspaper's article is saying something right and something that isn't happening just in one country, in every other country. And of course, the taxes shouldn't be used to make a lot of advertisement in short media and long media form content. So we cannot compete with the actual content creators that are doing all this stuff because there are like a bunch of them over and over again. If I can calculate how many new channels are coming up, many new accounts are coming up every day, I couldn't. I think Meta only has that specific statistic that I would like to know. But in the meantime, there's no way to compete. So if you want to talk about mental health, there are short format content and it's just like a bit impossible to make that video viral. At least not all of the videos that institutional account made throughout one week. You need to go into the market and to compete over and over again. So in order for us to get that useful content, the content that is going to tell us, hey, probably you need to stop and think about what's going on in your life and within yourself. You need to deep dive into another 1,000 hours, 200 memes, also 50 conspiracy theories, another 100 nonsense content, and around 56 different content topics so far. It's a bit interesting, but at the same time, overwhelming because our brains are designed to get so much information in some just a short period of time. We're stuffing it like a cake. Like it was supposed to be a carrot cake, and all of a sudden, in 1 hour, I got strawberry, pecans. I also got peanuts, vanilla, passion fruit, kiwi, pineapple, cheesecake, chocolate. And I also got some kind of liquor somebody found, coffee, and I can go on. So imagine you stuffing your brain with that kind of cake in an hour. Your brain is going to drive crazy. Like, hey, where are you putting into your body? That's too much. You cannot process that thing. Your digestive system would say like what's going on? This is like some kind of crazy circus I'm trying to process. Well, your brain also hates. You know, when we were kids, people said like we're going to play some kind of brain games. We're going to train our brains, or we're going to just stretch our brains because your brain also eats in a different way. You don't need to put the 10 type of different kicks in your mouth in order to notice when your brain is eating, because your brain eats in a different way. Your brain eats with everything that you consume, even the thing that you put in your mouth. Everything has to do with your brain when we talk about your body and your organism. So even what you read, what you listen to, what you watch, you are putting things in order for your brain to process it. So your brain is eating, but somehow people don't teach us that in that way. In a simple example of the cake, it's easy to say that, oh, I'm eating because you're stuffing that cake into your mouth. But in terms of your brain, there is no way that you are going to realize that, oh, I'm eating. Um, Watching this content like other 50-minute bag that I watch. So means I was eating. My brain was constantly consuming this stuff. What am I doing? So now that you know, now that you purchase something, because that's another thing. The institutional content doesn't only need to compete with the other numerous accounts out there and numerous videos, photos, and others that are launched every day. They also need to compete with the trends. They need to compete with trends. They need to compete with seasons. They also need to compete with popularity. And I could go on. And also the last one, and I think it's the trickiest one, preferences. Preferences. What would you do if you were like an institution and you wanted to compete going to the online world? What would be your strategy to not get down into those many cakes, multi-varied cakes out there? And you know, when the people that reach out to you, or that finally their name is going to show up your video to get so stuff. I mean, people that doesn't want to get any more slides anymore, or at least for that data, they're already overwhelmed and they're losing capacity of attention and concentration. That's the other one. What would you do to make like a pretty successful strategy that to keep constant, but also to the algorithm to favor you somehow, even though you have like not a pretty appealing type of content to share in terms of following moralities, but you are there. I mean, your content is also valid, right? Every content is valid at some point. And also, do you already like have in mind that your brain is eating all the time? Did you hear that when you were growing up? Or did you just hear the typical phrase like, oh, we're going to exercise our brain and stuff like that? Anyways, let me know those two things. And of course, any additional comments are more than welcome. I really love reading that article and I really like talking about this. And now I'm going to get a cake. Goodbye.